Hello, Retired Japan community. Hello, everybody. Daniel here. You'll notice Ben is not around. He's on his way. He's busy with school stuff, and he's going to hopefully dive in shortly. So, hey, you got me. For some reason, I'm in a big... I don't know how to get rid of that. Oh, we got two circles. Here we go.
Hey.
We got circles around us. I don't know how that happened.
You don't like the circles? Let's have a look.
Okay, in that case, then it's fine. I thought I'd change something.
Well, they've updated it a couple of times.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Okay, so we can just do this.
Beautiful. Well,
classic look.
That's good. Yeah,
I mean,
the binocular style was also good.
What do I want? I want this about here, don't I?
Yeah.
I want to show off my blue belt because I'm quite proud of my blue belt.
Oh, is that a new one? Is that new? When did you get that?
2020. And then the pandemic occurred and then jiu-jitsu finished.
Right. Do you get stripes on the belt to go up?
Like our club only on the white one.
Right. Okay.
So white belts get 4 stripes, and then the 4th stripe gets you to blue. A lot of clubs do stripes for the other belts too. Right. But we don't. We're just like blue, and then suddenly you'll get your purple at some point.
Purple, all right.
Or not.
Not yet. Yeah. Anyway, welcome to the podcast, Ben.
What?
Good to have you here. Welcome to the podcast. Good to have you here.
Oh, we're alive.
Oh, we are live. Yeah. We were
I didn't realize.
A good chat with the audience, before you came along.
Sorry about that. Fantastic. Did you do the intro?
Intro? We have an intro.
Welcome to RetireJapan TV.
Probably something like that. It was very professional. Yeah.
It's so It's such a professional start. Cool. All right. I'm so pleased. I can't believe it's been 2 months. It kind of feels like it hasn't. And
break. Yeah.
Yeah. So how have you been?
Yeah. Up and down. My parents came to visit for 2 weeks, actually, the longest they've been here, I think. And it was wonderful.
Stressful?
It was stressful just leading up to it because I needed to get stuff organized, ready for them to come. And I've got work at the same time, and just the mental, is the all the luggage. I need a rental car. Have I got the time right? Blah blah blah. And then whilst they were here, I'd planned a trip away up to Kinugawa Onsen, actually in Nikko. So have I got all that all booked? All the little things, which is I tend to get stressed about those things. Once they were here, it was wonderful. The weather was just right. This was October, not too hot, not too cold. And because they've been here several times, I mean, maybe a lot of viewers, listeners have the same thing. Family come over here. If they've been here several times, they don't need to do the tourist sites. They can sort of relax more, enjoy just seeing local life and the usual places that we would go to eat or hang out or something. And when they were here, it was just a whole lot of fun. It was really, really good. And then the day they went back, my dad got a cold, I got a cold, and then that sort of just dragged on and on and on. But put that to one side. Yeah, the visit was brilliant. And you?
Not bad. Same old.
You've done anything on YouTube recently outside of Retire Japan?
I kind of want it to grow organically. So
okay.
I started a very boring channel talking about jiu-jitsu that no one watches.
Right.
I think I've got like 4 or 5 subscribers, but that's fine. It's for my own pleasure and stuff. So I'm not looking for fame and fortune from my jiu-jitsu channel.
I was talking about that with my wife the other day. I've got an Instagram account that I just post to occasionally, and don't really get many views, haven't got many subscribers, but I like the fact that it kind of sort of keeps you somewhat motivated to keep up. This is about baking, by the way. I enjoy baking sometimes. It's nothing that I would normally share with my normal sort of group of like social people, I suppose. But it's really nice to look back at their things you posted in the past and sort of see your progress over the years. Oh yeah, that's pretty good. And it's just without the audience, it still feels good to have that kind of like public diary, I suppose. Is that the
exactly. So that's exactly what this is. It's kind of just a little diary. So every time I go to class, it's actually a way to motivate myself to go to class as well. Because I only make videos when I go to class. So. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe next month I'll be like, yeah, I've got 10 subscribers now. And
doubled, 200% increase.
Woohoo! Awesome. So we're back. It's season 3. We've got a really cool new thumbnail thanks to Daniel's inspired posing. And yeah, today we've got a few things for you. So we're going to talk about iDeCo, and then we're going to talk about renovation. Exciting stuff. It's all part. It's just party after party here on RetireJapan TV. We're going to talk about the news briefly. We've got a new segment, a very exciting new segment that we'll reveal later in the show.
Oh yeah.
We've got Daniel's money tip with its funky theme tune and all that. We've got some forum updates, and then if anyone is here. If we've got any audience at all, we'll do a Q&A. If you've got any questions that we haven't answered so far, we'll get to them at the end in the Q&A session. And yeah, let's get started.
Cool. I think it's probably going to be you leading the first section, actually, because you know a lot more about this than me.
Right. iDeCo, the other tax advantage account in Japan. Like the boring, kind of geeky, kind of annoying one with the stupid paperwork, compared to NISA, which is actually quite user friendly now. So iDeCo is the self-managed pension, I guess you might call it. So it's an individual defined contribution account. You can put in pre-tax income. You can reduce your income tax by paying into iDeCo, and it's pretty cool. So I think most people who are going to be here for the long run should consider opening an iDeCo account. It's a great way to save for retirement. It's a great way to reduce your income tax. The downside, if you might call it that, is that you can't get at your money until you're 60. So it's locked away. But actually, I think that's a benefit, because you're not going to be tempted to spend it on something frivolous. Instead, you have to leave it to grow until you reach the age of 60, when you probably need it, and then you'll get access to your iDeCo investments.
For people outside Japan or from the US in particular who are familiar with the 401k, is iDeCo basically like Japan's 401k?
Yeah, basically.
Good.
So yeah, it's the same mechanism. So you put in pre-tax income. It grows, and then there is a tax on the out when it comes out. So it's not completely tax-free. Some people might think it's completely tax-free. Sadly, it's not. You get a really nice benefit when you put the money in. And then when you take the money out again, because we're in Japan, there's this really complicated formula that you have to calculate to figure out whether you owe tax or not. And
so it's not just a simple threshold then?
Kind of. So what happens is that each year that you pay in to iDeCo, you accumulate a tax-free limit. So, and the way that accrues is for the first 20 years. Every year you pay in, you get 400,000 yen of a tax-free limit.
I need to calculate this.
So after 20 years, if you pay in, you have 8 million yen tax-free. And then for the next 10 years, you get 700,000 yen a year tax-free limit. So it increases if you pay more than 20 years. So the maximum tax-free amount is 15 million yen after 30 years.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
So if your iDeCo account has less than that tax-free limit in it, there's no tax.
That's all making sense now. Right.
So for most people who are paying into, iDeCo as a company employee, where you're paying in 23,000 yen a month, you're quite likely to be under or near that tax-free allowance, and therefore you probably won't have to pay a lot of tax on your iDeCo account.
But even if you go over that, you're only paying tax on that little bit over. I guess.
Actually, it's even better than that.
Oh.
What you do, if you go over, you subtract the tax-free limit, and then you pay income tax on half of the remainder.
They do like to
Half of the
complicate it,
remainder
don't
is
they?
tax-free.
Right.
So let's say you paid in for 30 years, you got your 15 million tax-free limit, and you've managed to grow your investments to 20 million yen.
Mm-hmm.
So of that 20 million yen, 15 million yen would be tax-free.
Right.
And of the remaining 5 million yen, half of that would be tax-free. And you would pay tax on 2.5 million yen.
Oh, okay.
Basically, this is how retirement bonuses work.
Oh.
Now, if you also have a retirement bonus, things get a bit more complicated because the order you take them in and the timing of when you take them changes your tax-free liability. So if you have a complicated situation like that, you probably want to talk to an accountant before making decisions, because you have the choice of when to cash in your iDeCo account. The earliest you can get it is when you're 60, but you can leave it. And currently, you're allowed to leave it until you're 75 if you want to.
They extended that, didn't they, from 70 to 75?
They did, because we're pushing everything back now, which makes sense. It makes no sense to, have everyone retiring at 60 when maybe they don't want to, or maybe they can't. Maybe they want to keep working. Now that life expectancy is considerably higher than that. Because you have to remember, they set these retirement ages in the kind of 1800s, and life expectancy was 48, and your retirement age was 50. So not many people retired.
No.
I'm surprised
they've kept it at 60 then. I thought they might delay that as well.
Well, that's when you can. So, I mean, iDeCo is fairly flexible. So you get the choice here. What they're not doing is forcing you to take it at 70, which is how it worked until the change. China, the retirement age is 60, I think, and 55 for women. So they're raising that now.
Yeah, they just either changed it or they announced they're going to change it.
Yeah,
I heard that people were complaining apparently. But
well, of course,
not a lot of choice.
France has got quite a nice system, and they're trying to shift it because it just doesn't work. The maths don't work anymore. So the other thing about iDeCo, which is why we're talking about it today, actually, is that there's been a change. So probably about last year, maybe a year or two ago, they announced the change, and it's changing in December. And the thing that's changing is that teachers and public servants and people who are in a kyosai, so they pay kyosai nenkin, their limit until now was 12,000 yen a month. That's all they could put into iDeCo, which is not a lot.
Not much.
So finally, that limit's being raised. And from December, they'll be able to pay in 20,000 yen a month.
Okay, still not a lot.
It's not, but it's a lot more than 12.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's what? 60% more? Betraying my lack of math skills. But yeah, man, that's going to make a huge difference. If you're paying in for 30 years, having an extra 8,000 yen a month is going to make a big difference. So yeah, that's possible. And basically, if you already have an iDeCo account and you're a teacher or a kyosai or a public servant type, you should be able to log into your broker and change it online, which is really cool. I hadn't seen that before. So there's a screen where you've got a drop-down menu and you can choose how much you want to change your monthly contribution limit to. And it'll be updated online. Because until now, most of the iDeCo paperwork is paperwork. So the best you can do is kind of ask your broker to send you the forms, fill in the forms, send them in, probably get them sent back because you made a mistake. Or at least that's what happens to me. And it takes a while. So being able to do it online is wonderful. So yeah, if you're a teacher or a public servant and so on, I would recommend going in and just upping, paying in as much as you can, hopefully the whole 20%, the whole 20,000 yen, and get the maximum benefit from iDeCo.
Yeah. And it's one of those set it and forget it things like Tsumitate NISA, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It just ticks away in the background. Really cool. And if you're paying kokumin nenkin, so if you're a freelancer, self-employed type, you can pay in 68,000 yen a month. which does start to make quite a big difference.
Yep, that's the boat I'm in.
Especially in reducing your income, and also in building up quite a nice nest egg. So my wife's iDeCo account is now worth around 20 million yen.
Wow, she'll have to pay tax.
Yes. she's well above that tax-free limit, but not bad.
Yeah.
So by the time she cashes that out, that's going to be a fairly decent retirement cushion for her.
Yeah.
So, and that was just built up month in, month out without really having to think about it.
If she came to you and asked you, should she take it out at 60 as soon as she's allowed, or should she keep it in the maximum time, 75, or something in between? What would you say to her?
Well, it depends, obviously, on your circumstances. So obviously there is that's a really good question. I think if you need the money, I would probably cash out iDeCo before NISA.
Oh, right.
Just because NISA's tax-free, however big
Completely.
it gets.
Yeah.
So cashing out NISA in order to let your iDeCo grow more if you're going to get taxed on it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It'd be better to use the iDeCo to live on, leave the NISA to grow, because that's going to be tax-free whatever happens, and do it in that order.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Is my kind of gut feeling for that. Also, NISA is more flexible, so
yeah.
But you should really figure out the timing thing. So if you've had a retirement bonus, which my wife won't get because she's self-employed, that complicates things. So you need to talk to someone, a tax specialist, to figure out the order you should take it in. And also the other thing about iDeCo is that you don't have to take a lump sum. You can take it in installments as well.
Right.
In which case it's taxed differently. It's taxed as linking. And playing with that lets you really try and finesse your taxes, because you can take the lump sum and it's taxed the way we described before. But then you can take a portion of it as a monthly payment, and that's taxed differently. So by playing with it, you can really try to reduce your taxes as much as possible.
Right. At that point, I'd probably ask for an accountant to help.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because you can talk to an accountant for an hour for very little money, and they can give you decent advice. So definitely worth doing.
That's a good side note, actually. I don't do this every year, but when I started having to do the end of year tax for myself, manually filling the forms, we got an accountant. And when I've heard other people do that in the past, I thought, wow, that's for like these super high flyers, and it's going to cost a fortune and all these legal fees and stuff. No, it was really easy. It was somebody I knew recommended this person, and it was, I think, Ichiman at that time. It was just over Ichiman yen, and we met for an hour or two in some shared office in Yokohama. Super helpful, happy to answer really stupid questions from me. And yeah, well worth it. And not just like, financially, but just the stress, when we tried to do it ourselves, we would have spent a day with all the papers on the kitchen table trying to work out, and you're never sure, have we really done it correctly or not? And so, yeah, we're going on a bit of a tangent here, but if anyone is in any doubt, personally, I found it very useful to have just a one-off, not too expensive session with a tax accountant.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely recommend it. I mean, it's just going to save you so much time, isn't it? Rather than reading the instructions on how to do tax returns and trying to look at the tax agency website, which is not the most user-friendly, unfortunately.
One time as well, I actually had a nightmare of people, like police cars in our street, coming out into our house and coming out with the boxes. They see it on the TV. They some sort of big corruption thing.
You get raided, right? And
and they go with the boxes full of files. I had a nightmare where the police, there's all these cars down our street, and they're coming into the house and they're taking out all these boxes, and all the neighbors are looking at us because I did something wrong on the tax form. And so when that happened, it's like, right, it's worth it just to stop having these nightmares that I might have done something wrong.
Yeah. I don't think that's likely to happen to you, though.
It might have been a slight.
My wife's been audited twice, and it was really stressful, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything like that. It was more like, bring us this paper, And then, you know, the next day they're like, bring us another paper
Oh,
for
okay.
months.
Oh, really? Wow.
Oh, it's horrible. And you know how the tax people are really nice and polite and friendly? The audit people are not.
Oh,
Not at all.
oh no.
They're really quite unpleasant.
Oh dear.
So you don't want to get audited, but they're not going to come and carry all your stuff away in boxes.
Right.
Usually.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh yeah, we want to talk about 3 more things about iDeCo, just really quickly. One is that you can cash it out in some circumstances. So if you have paid in less than 250,000 yen and for less than 5 years, and you leave Japan, you can cash out your iDeCo, which is handy. But once you've paid in more than 250,000 yen or more than 5 years, you can't. You have to leave it there and apply from abroad to have them send you the money when you're 60.
But that is okay. I think they can send it to
absolutely,
an account outside of Japan, can't they?
The only hassle would be having to do that in Japanese in 30 years' time. Having left Japan, you know, it'd just be real pain.
Yeah.
Although maybe it'll be automated by then, you know. Maybe you can email the AI and tell them, "Hey Siri, get my iDeCo for me."
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
The other thing is that there's one thing about iDeCo that's super user friendly, which is that you can switch investments within the account without really having to sell them. So they've got this really cool function where you can say, I'm going to swap this fund for this fund, and it just does that. So you don't have to sell one fund and then buy the next fund. It's called switching. You can do it online through your broker. It's great. I kind of wish NISA had that functionality, but I guess it'd be difficult to implement or something.
Yep, I've done that actually. I started off because you told me. Oh, in fact, yeah, the first time I met you was at the actual physical course way back before Corona. And one of the things you said is you need to get an iDeCo. I'd never heard of it before. I'd assumed, it must be for Japanese people. And it's no, you know, non-Japanese can get it as well. Just, you know, exactly the same as, you know, treated the same. Just do it. So, okay, Ben, I'll do it. And I did it. And I just didn't know what to really put in it. So I just put, I can't remember what it was now, but it was maybe Japan stocks and foreign stocks or something like that. And then after a while, I kind of, you know, saw it building up and okay, I should think properly about this. And then I thought more about my allocation. And so I've now got, what I've got, a quarter real estate, quarter stocks, quarter bonds, quarter gold, pretty like standard stuff. And so I switched a bunch from some kind of, let's say stocks to bonds. And it was easy. I expected there to be some kind of payment fee or switching fee. There wasn't. I expected I would get a bad price when I sold and a poor price when I bought the other thing, but I didn't. And I thought I might have to fill in paperwork, but no, it was all log in, online, switch. Okay, it'll be done, you know, in a few days' time. And it was. So
yeah, very, very smooth.
Don't hold back on iDeCo because you're wondering about what to put the buckets into or what to choose. I'd say, well, not financial advice, but I found it valuable to just put something in there, and then later when I was sort of more comfortable, then switching it to something else.
Yeah, and you know, as you get closer to cashing out, maybe you're going to want to move some of those funds out of stocks and into something else. iDeCo has cash funds as well, so you can move your money into cash and leave it there.
Good point.
So there's lots of ways to use the accounts, and I think they're, in that regard, pretty user friendly.
Yes.
Now they just need to make sure that you can do the paperwork online, and that would be great. And yeah, it's also quite easy to change your future contributions. So say you want to change the funds you're going to buy next month and going forward, that's pretty easy to do online as well. So.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Awesome. Let's answer some questions. I think if we answer actually, let's just get through them because otherwise they build up, right? So I haven't heard this. Actually, no, I'm not familiar with how NISA accounts as inheritance of tax. I'm going to look into that. That sounds really interesting, and it would make a good video or blog post. So I'll definitely check that out. Sorry, I haven't got the information now. Jason's, actually, let's put them up. So Jason Smith is asking about Financial investment structure for employees like NISA. NISA is great. I mean, there is a cap, but it's an 18 million yen cap. So most people are going to struggle to fill that particularly quickly. And if you can invest 18 million yen in a NISA, that's going to grow to, 36, 72, and it's going to be quite nice. And it's tax-free, the whole amount. So I'd go with NISA for that. There isn't really anything else. So I think the thinking here is that these accounts are not really to help people become really rich. It's to help people get a decent financial cushion for retirement. And if you can build that up, they're not going to give you unlimited kind of access. Although it would be really nice if NISA didn't have a lifetime contribution limit. Mm-hmm. If it just had that annual contribution limit. But I think basically that's not the purpose of NISA. The purpose is to allow the middle class to have a comfortable retirement. It's not to allow people to become, millionaires or whatever. So, but it's pretty decent. If you can max out NISA, you're going to be fairly well off. Okay, so do Eikaiwa schools ever get audited? Well, my wife runs an Eikaiwa school, and the 2 audits that she had were for that, basically. And I think they were triggered because she moved tax offices. So moving the tax office, the new tax office becomes very interested in what you're doing and stuff. They didn't really find anything. It was just a kind of like, yeah, we're going to audit you now. So yes, very much Eikaiwa schools get audited. How is iDeCo managed? So iDeCo is individual. It's your account. So you open the account with a broker of your choice and you manage the account through that broker's website. It's not done by the employer. So if you have a DC pension, a defined contribution pension through your employer, that would be done through the employer, normally through a firm that the employer contracts to run it. And then you would run it through that firm, through their portal or whatever. How should we invest while the yen is weak? I don't know. If I knew, I'd be really rich and I wouldn't be doing this live stream. Yeah, we don't know. So I'm continuing to invest how I was investing before, which is I'll buy world index funds, world stock index funds. And I'm going to keep doing that. So I don't know what's going to happen. The yen could remain weak. The yen could strengthen. The yen could weaken further. We have no idea. I think just sticking to a reasonable plan is a good way to approach it. Some people are focusing on buying Japanese companies now with their yen. But if the yen then strengthens later, then I don't know. So yeah, I don't think there's an easy answer for this. So.
Yes, even if you do say Japanese companies, yes or no, good idea, bad idea, it really depends on the company, because I've got some in my portfolio that have most of their revenue coming from outside of Japan, and some with the most revenue inside Japan. And then on the annual reports of these companies, sometimes they'll say, oh, we had a great year because most of our expenses are overseas and the rate was good. And some of them will say we had a great year because most of our income was from overseas, and so the rate was good. So it's even saying, Japanese companies are a good or bad investment is really just missing out on a whole lot of sort of nuance there.
Yeah. Sorry, let's go with this. What's the best way for an overseas? So this is, if you're talking about bank transfer, then just a bank transfer. If it's a smaller amount, then Wise is pretty good. If it's a larger amount, then normally a normal bank transfer through Swift or something similar is the best way. If it's a large amount of money, you'll probably want to contact your Japanese bank in advance and say, yes, I'm going to make this large transfer and here's what it's for, and let me know if you need anything, just so they don't freak out and freeze it or something. So
I did have that actually a few years ago with my company, sending over some money from like a one-off thing, and yeah, it got stopped. It was Shinsei Bank, and it all went through fine, and then I'm checking the reload, but it's not coming in, and then there was a phone call. Okay, you need to provide these papers before we can release your money. That really annoyed me. It's my money, come on! But they control the rules of the game, so just have to.
Yeah, and I've heard stories where they sent it back.
Oh, really? Whoa.
Yeah, at least Shinsei gave you the chance to do the paperwork. So
Yeah.
definitely tell
Wow.
the bank in advance and ask if you need to do anything to make that smoother. Yeah. Tried opening an iDeCo account, but I got stuck. Yeah. So if you're an employee, you need to give one of the forms to your employer, and they need to fill it out. And they have to fill it out. So by law, they can't say they won't fill it out. And then there's a thing where you can ask them to take the iDeCo payments from your salary, and they don't have to do that. So they can if they feel like it, and they don't have to. And if they won't, or if you don't want to do that, the iDeCo payments get taken from your bank. And I should probably make a video about that as well. Good, thanks for the idea, definitely. So I'm going to actually make some notes about that. Cool. What's the next one? Oh, that's it.
No, we have some coming just from Kelly.
Oh, from Kelly, yeah. So Wise, apparently you can now send up to 150 million yen, I think. So the limit used to be 1 million, and now it's 150 million. So if you have 150 million yen that you want to send abroad, you can now do it with Wise. So yeah, they registered as a bank, so they got some kind of banking license. That meant that very strict limit no longer applied. So yeah, looking good.
However, they do still have the limit where you can't have more than 1 million yen in your account. Not at any one time, but after a month, they will send some of your money to another bank account that you've registered with them, so that it gets below that 1 million. You can't basically keep 1 million yen in your Wise account for more than a month.
Yeah, they're not a real bank yet in Japan. They need that kind of license. But yeah, I think it's progress. You know, if you need to send a large amount, do compare though, because it can be cheaper to send it with, say, one of the banks instead. Because the way Wise works is they take a percentage. It's a very small percentage, but it's still a percentage. And a normal bank might take a fixed fee of, say, 5,000 yen or something. So the larger the amount you're sending, the less that fixed fee becomes, and sometimes it's cheaper. So definitely worth doing your homework if you're going to send a large amount of money. But if you're sending a small amount of money, Wise is so easy. I'd just use Wise. And by small, I mean, to like 6 figures maybe. In yen. 6 figures in yen.
One more from Jason to finish off. Anti-money laundering transfer limits. Right, I don't know what they are, but yeah, they must have, above a certain amount is going to trigger that. So I don't think it's the bank, or it might not necessarily be only the bank's rules, but it's like they're legal.
Oh yeah. But yeah, basically, in practice, this is what some banks do. Yeah.
Kelly has come back with another comment about how it starts off being easy. They tell you it's easy, but inevitably it turns into Japanese, with your middle name becoming the ultimate problem, as always. Yes. Oh, when will it go away?
Rakuten Bank is actually fairly strict, apparently. So I've heard people be turned down for bank accounts with Rakuten Bank. So
really,
and the credit card is sometimes difficult to get through. So
yeah,
if you run into big issues, maybe consider alternatives as well, because you don't need the Rakuten Bank account to use Rakuten Securities, for example. It's perfectly fine to use it with other banks as well. Last question, and then we're going to move on. Rakuten, I don't think iDeCo does. Obviously, each broker has a different iDeCo lineup, so you'd have to check different brokers to see what funds they have in there. You might find a commodities fund. So commodities would generally include gold. Generally, NISA, you have a much wider range of investments, especially in the growth portion. So you'll definitely be able to buy a gold ETF in NISA if you want to. But iDeCo might be tricky.
My SBI iDeCo account has gold, just one gold fund. So
specifically gold.
Yep, just gold.
Okay, I stand corrected.
I assume Rakuten's the same, but we don't know for sure.
I will check right now whether Rakuten has a gold fund, but I don't think it does.
Yes, I use it to try and simulate Ray Dalio's, what is it, happiness portfolio or butterfly portfolio or something like that, where he
It's
has, I
just
think,
based on the permanent portfolio, isn't it? I mean, he just
that's
ripped
it.
off
That's the one.
what's his face? Harry. What's his name? I like him.
Is it
Harry.
Bogle?
No, not
No.
Bogle. This is the guy that was the Libertarian presidential candidate at some point. He wrote a book called "How to Be Free in an Unfree World," which is kind of cool.
I don't know the name then.
But yeah, he came up with the permanent portfolio, which is that four sector thing that kind of deals with inflation and deflation and different stuff.
Yeah, that's what I try to emulate, and yeah, gold is helpful for that.
Ah, nice. Okay, well, what are we doing next? Renovation. Do you want to start the renovation thing, and I'll figure out if
Okay. Yes. All right. So we're going to obviously stick with a sort of on a financial theme here, but we both have slightly different stories about renovation that we've taken or investigated. So if I talk about my own experience, we bought the house we're currently living in about 5 years ago. Up to then, I've been renting, we had been renting, and it was built in the 1980s and had been left as it was for 7 years. So the elder couple that owned it moved into a nursing home. There was some sort of argument amongst the grown-up children who was due to inherit it, to the point where it was just left. There was soy sauce bottles in the kitchen. There were toothbrushes and toothpaste in the bathroom. It really was exactly as they'd left it when they went to the nursing home. And I think some of the children had been in after that and taken some valuable items that we heard had been around. But apart from that, it was just as it was, with a lot of stuff in. And we put in a bid because it was done it wasn't an auction necessarily, but they were sort of accepting closed bids over a period of time through the estate agent. And we got it because we figured that most Japanese people would take one look inside here and think, wow, what a mess, I'm not going to buy that. But, we were prepared to sort of get our hands dirty, so to speak. Personally, I was fascinated as well. There could be some real treasure in here. Wow. So there are two parts that we needed to do. One is to get the house cleared, and two, we needed to pay for some renovation. Now we had to have we didn't buy it outright, by the way. We had to get the mortgage for this. And to get the mortgage, you had to have an earthquake assessment. And the earthquake assessment came out okay. Not fantastic, but good enough, like legally. It won't fall down, but you might get some cracks kind of thing. So we're happy with that. So the renovation was only sort of surface. It was wallpapering throughout. We got a new wooden sort of floor put in the living area, and some electric work needed doing, stuff like that. It came to 300,000. Was it Sandakuman? And what was it now? No, 3 million. 3 million yen.
Yeah, I would have thought 3 million rather than 300,000.
Right. Which still looked like a lot more. We got extra stuff like a new toilet put in as well, and a new shower, actually, and lots of tiling. So yeah, it added up to quite a lot. And that was about 10% of the purchase price, which was roughly 3,000 man yen. So was that 30 million? Yeah, probably. And the good thing, which I didn't realize you could do this, is that if you get the renovations done at the same time, and the mortgage company kind of recognizes that you're doing it through an official renovation company, then you can get the quote from the renovation company added to your mortgage purchase price into one big mortgage that covers everything. And we wanted to do that because the rate on that is obviously very low because it's a mortgage. It was about 1%, I think we got. And so nice. We ended up having a slightly bigger mortgage, but then the payments are very, very low. So we were very happy with that. The work got done, and then we moved in, and it was all pretty seamless. We weren't waiting for somebody to move out, so there was no sort of delay like that. It was very, very good. The only tricky thing was clearing out all the stuff. And I came here sort of after work every night for a few weeks. It was really spooky, actually, at night in this strange house full of this strangest stuff. The electricity worked, fortunately, so you had the lights on. But even so, it was very spooky. So I had the radio on as loud as I could and felt to try and calm me down a bit. And I'm going into all these cupboards and these little cubby holes, just seeing what's around. And most of the stuff we just got a company to take away. In the end, they had 7 trucks to clear out all the stuff. It was a lot of stuff.
Seriously?
Yeah. But before they went, did find a few things, pottery and artwork and stuff like that, which we thought might be valuable. So I put it on Yahoo Auctions. The most valuable thing I found was a Rolex box. Okay.
Oh, not the watch.
Right. For a 1963 Submariner diver, 70 or 73, something like that, like a vintage Rolex Submariner worth a lot of money. And I looked for that watch really hard after I found that box.
The watch has got to be here somewhere.
Right. But I think this is one of the things where the children had come in, like, we know Dad's got a watch somewhere, and they would, taken that, and they don't want the rest of the stuff in the house.
They should have kept the box. It'd be more valuable with the box, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would have done, yeah. But so anyway, found this empty box, and it's got receipts and stuff in it, and the brochure and all that stuff, but it's missing the lid. So it's just like the base of a Rolex box with all the stuff in it.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, might still be worth something to somebody. So I put it on Yahoo Auction, and turns out there were these two people just bidding it up and bidding it up. And it got to, I think, Q-man yen or 90,000 yen in the end that I sold it for.
A box.
A Rolex box without the lid.
I didn't start keeping boxes. I just throw them away. Every time I buy something, I just throw the packaging away. So,
well, wow. I'm glad they kept this one. So yeah, super happy with that. And it turns out that the guy wanted a box for his Rolex from that particular year. And so, yeah, he was prepared to pay as much as it cost, basically, because he needed a box for that, and the manual and the receipt for that year. And yeah, he got it. So anyway, so that partially paid for the clearance company.
A third of your renovations, nice.
So the total clearance cost itself was 70,000 yen, I think, which is really surprising to me that it would cost that much. But anyway, so that's the story. It was quite a hassle, but in the end, it was all worthwhile. I'm really, really happy with the house. And yeah, it's worth noting that if you're going to get renovation done, it is possible to get it bundled in with your mortgage and therefore pay a very low interest rate on it.
Yeah, same with solar panels, I believe. And certainly some banks will give you the money for the transaction fees. But I got that. So I got 110% mortgage, which covered the bank fees and government fees and stuff, which was kind of nice.
Yeah. I didn't do
that. Yeah. So renovation-wise, we've renovated our mansion, which is an apartment, not a very large house in Japan. Just need to get it. And we've done that in 3 sections, actually. So the first thing we did was we put in inner windows. They're called Implus. So this is kind of double glazing that you add to the inside of the existing windows. So you end up with the existing windows plus double or triple glazing inside them. And the reason they put them inside is because you're not allowed to do work to the outside of condominiums and that kind of building without permission, and you basically don't get permission to mess around with the outside. So you put the windows on the inside. It takes about 2-3 hours. They order them, so you order them. They're made to measure. The guys bring them in and just install them, basically, and they're pretty reasonable. So, and for us, that made a huge difference because the sound level went way down. It became much better sound insulated, and the temperature was night and day. So, like, our heating costs went through the floor, like completely. Like heating and air conditioning got way more effective. And then the other thing we did was we put in a second door. Apparently, this is something you see in Hokkaido, in the north part of Tohoku as well. So when you open the front door, you have a second door there. So you have kind of an airlock. So all the warm air doesn't rush out of the house when you open the front door. And again, this was so basically the genkan. So you'd have the door. You come into the genkan, you got the bit where you take your shoes off, and then we put another door there. Good idea. So you'd open the door, come in, shut the door, take your shoes off, open the inner door, and then go inside. And I really like it. So again, it's temperature, it's noise. It also seals the house if people come to the door, which is nice. If I'm answering the door, I'll close the inner door and open the outer door. So people can't see into the house. They don't have access to the house. Yeah, great. And again, it was fairly reasonably priced. Yeah. So that was our first big renovation. And then we left it for a while.
Can I just jump in with if you want a DIY way to do your double windows thing, in our kitchen window, it's not that big and we never open it. So you've got the window and then you've got the sliding like mosquito net kind of door. Took that off and just got some acrylic clear plastic sheets from the garden centre, cut those to size and put them in where the mosquito net would normally go. So you can't open, close it, but it slides in and now we have a cheap so-called double glazed window.
Nice. I wonder how airtight it is though.
No, not very, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, before we got the windows, when we lived in other places, we'd have like you put the bubble wrap over the windows. You can heat seal the windows with plastic. We used to have curtains on the front door, like a meat locker, these kind of overlapping plastic things. So yeah, lots of options for that, but it's just nicer if it's permanent. So these inner windows are fantastic. Like the specs are really good. They got argon in and stuff, so very well insulated. And they're cheap because they just they bring them in a big crate and stick them on inside. There's no actual building work involved.
That's really cool.
And then the second thing we did was we got a kitchen in the pandemic. we had to cancel all the holidays, so we thought I would just improve the house instead. And that was incredibly expensive because we got a custom kitchen from this small company that my wife liked. But it's such an improvement of quality of life if your kitchen's nice. So we got like an island made and got a gas oven and stuff. It's very nice.
All Italian,
expensive
marble,
but worth it.
Gold taps.
I think the windows were necessary.
Sorry.
So I think the windows were necessary and very cost effective. The kitchen was just a quality of life thing. So we had the money. We were happy to spend the money on this. It made our life better. And then the one recently is we did the bathroom and the toilet. So we're kind of moving through renovating different bits. And that was fairly reasonable as well. So we got some government grants. We found a fairly decent place to do it for us. I think it was like about 1 million yen for both. Which is reasonable, I think. And then the other renovation we did was we paid most of the money for my in-laws to renovate their house, which is a very old house from like the 80s, maybe 70s or 80s. And originally we were going to rebuild it, but we looked into it, and apparently because it's really close to a cliff, you're not allowed to build there anymore. So we were allowed to renovate the existing structure, but we weren't allowed to knock it down and build a new house. If we knocked it down, we wouldn't be able to build on the land. So basically the company we got went in and removed everything apart from the frame and then rebuilt the house completely. So
but it's still classed as renovation.
The footprint doesn't change. I think they use Google Maps. So they just look at, is the building the same size and shape?
Yeah.
And that was very expensive indeed. It overran, so the costs went over budget. Mainly because we didn't compromise. Builders here, they're kind of like, yeah, here's the plan, and then, oh, you wanted doors, did you? That's more expensive. So yeah, I think it was almost the price of a new house to renovate.
Whoa.
It is a new house basically. It's almost passive house in terms of insulation and air tightness and stuff. We got heat exchange ventilation put in, and it's really nice. Wooden floors, like underfloor heating.
Yeah.
So eventually we might inherit that. I think it's actually my wife's name now, so technically it belongs to her. But my mother-in-law is healthier than me. She goes to the gym every day. And does like squats and things. I think she's going to outlive me. So I don't think we're ever going to live in that house. So that's my experience of renovations. It does take forever. Like the house one almost killed me with endless meetings about deciding, what color the inside of the cupboard should be, and I was just like, oh my god, I
Oh,
don't want to
really?
make these decisions anymore.
Yeah.
Just forever. And I think this company was pretty good actually. So I've seen worse. So it can take a really long time.
Yes, ours was pretty good, but even then, you'd sort of have the discussion about the color or the type of tiles that you want, and then they bring samples around, and then eventually you decide, okay, right, thank you very much, and then they'll come back a couple of days later. Oh, those ones aren't in stock anymore. Can you use different ones? And so it's
Oh
back
my
with the
God.
books and back choosing it all again. So even just things happen to slow it down anyway.
The thing that I kind of regret is sockets. So we didn't put enough sockets in, for example. You've really got to think about that. Like, how many sockets do you want? Where do you want them?
Yeah.
What wiring do you want? It's better. It's so much better to decide that in advance.
Yes. Can I just go back to something that somebody mentioned earlier about? Someone was saying they're thinking of purchasing a house. I think they're referring to when I was talking about how we bought this house here. And if you are interested in looking for an older house, a couple of tips I have is look for a piece of land. That if you do an online search, you normally go if you're looking for a house. But if you're okay with doing some DIY or getting someone to do some DIY for you, look for a piece of land, because occasionally there'll be a building on it, and the building has no real value, and so they class it as a plot of land and assume that you're going to knock down the building. But in some cases, with some renovation, it could be livable. And we actually looked at one like this. Turns out it totally was not livable at all. Sadly, it would have been beautiful, but it was way too far gone. But that is a possible option, at least, to see what's out there. And the second tip is that the house that we eventually found was not advertised online. We went to visit another one, and it wasn't really for us. And the estate agent then contacted us, I think a few weeks later, and said, hey, there's actually something coming up soon, a couple of streets away. You might be interested in that. We came, had a look, and it looks perfect. And in the end, I don't think it even went online. It went straight to a sort of a closed bid system to whoever already knew about it, and they got enough through that without having to advertise it. So it is worth letting your estate agent know, or any local estate agent know.
Making friends with some estate agents is definitely a good idea, because they do have all these. It's no good just going on whatever website and searching yourself, because they get things first, and some of them don't even go online. So definitely a good idea.
Well, we've had some nice little things from commenters, haven't we? MS Kelly Petit.
Yes, thank you very much for contributions. It's not expected at all, but it is gratefully received. Thank you.
Some kind words as well. I appreciate that.
So from Kelly here, we do have some videos about buying houses in Japan. So have a look for that on the RetireJapan YouTube channel. Basically, the TLDR for that is, if you're going to live in the house for 10, 20, 30 years, it's probably cheaper and nicer to buy it. If you're not, it's probably a better idea to rent, because you have flexibility. And after that, it's kind of personal preference. But especially if you're getting a rent subsidy, that rent subsidy would stop if you bought a house. So you got to calculate that as well if you go into the numbers. Yeah, this is awesome. So the double door, the double genkan, everyone should have this. Really recommend it. Although the guys that we asked to make it had no idea what I was talking about. Like, it took me about an hour to explain what I wanted.
Really?
We're going to talk about this later. So about Akia. So we're going to talk about Akia later. This is not my cup of tea, I don't think. I think, we'll talk about it later. But we are going to get to it, don't worry. So I'm not entirely sure, but there are different levels of building codes. I think the 90s, they upgraded them after the Kobe earthquake. And then in the 2000s, it got stricter with regards to air, kind of ventilation and so on. So yeah, different grades of buildings at different times.
I think it might have been 1981 when there was a earthquake one as well, before the Kobe earthquake. I'm sure, because I've looked at mansions, and you set the limit when you're filtering, like, do you want it older or younger than a certain date? And one of the cutoffs was about 40-ish years ago, because that's when the earthquake codes were strengthened. So yeah, it's early 80s sometimes. I can't remember the exact year.
Yeah, and then 90s. So
right.
Yeah. So yeah, basically, I mean, it very much depends how long you're going to live in the home and how much you care about it. But I never wanted to buy. So I never wanted to buy in Japan. I thought this is a terrible idea. The houses depreciate. There's earthquakes everywhere. Why would I want to buy this big expensive thing that's going to get broken? And then we got a really good deal on our mansion, and I love owning my mansion. So you never know, So it is very pleasant to own your place, to have control of it, to be able to decorate, not have to worry about renewing your contract and paying some stupid fee for There's pros and cons for both, definitely. But if you're here for the really long term, I would recommend at least looking at it and doing the numbers.
Yeah, we moved around and rented until this house, and really happy to just not have to worry about the rent and the renewals and the coming around to check, or something broken and I have to go and speak to the landlord, rather than just I can go and fix that thing myself. Yeah, it suits our personality.
Definitely. Right. Oh yeah, and the last thing was talking about Akiya and stuff, wasn't it?
Right, yeah.
So the Akiya boom, right? So especially on YouTube and TikTok and whatever, everyone's like, yeah, Akiya, go to Japan and get a free house, and then you can live in it for free, and then you can do Airbnb and stuff. And I don't think it's that easy. I think it's probably a lot easier to make TikTok content about it than to actually do it. But you that real estate conference you went to, Daniel, there's a Airbnb expert on there, right?
Yes, I cannot remember her name, but they put talks up online, and there's one lady who's been doing it a lot, and she's very happy to sort of give advice to people. And the thing that she stressed was, don't do it for passive income. It's not passive. It's going to cost you, fees in management and all that kind of stuff that won't really make it worthwhile. Do it if you are happy to be more hands-on and sort of be a part of the community. If you love it, basically. So Tracy, that's it. Yeah, it's ever so good. I guess that if you search for her on YouTube, you'll find some of her talks. But I was kind of tempted to look into Airbnb ownership, but yeah, financially it didn't work out the way I wanted it to, because I just wanted to have it all as passive income, and it's really not that.
Yeah, I think if you love it and you want to host people and you want to look after people and you want to be hands-on with having a small hotel, then it might be a really good thing. But yeah, I'm not interested in any of that.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing about Akiya, I think, is to realize that Japanese people are not stupid. So if no one wants to buy the house or no one wants to own the house, there's probably a good reason for that. Either it's structurally unsound, either it needs a huge amount of work, maybe the community it's in is dying and there's no opportunities there. So yeah, I think the whole you can get a free house in Japan. I mean, you can get a free house in Italy as well. There's towns in Italy that are selling houses for €1 if you agree to go and live there. But again, there's a reason no one wants to live there. I think it's probably more complicated than it looks.
Yes, I linked to a BBC report they did on it just about maybe a month or so ago, and I thought it was a pretty balanced coverage. It's a short video, and it includes sort of a look at influencers in Japan getting these Akiya, doing them up, and then they go on Instagram and share how they did it. And it's not necessarily picking sides. it's saying, yes, this is possible. This is a thing. People are doing it. However, the benefits might not be as good as people make it seem. And so maybe the benefit of having an Akiya is that you can talk about it on social media and get more followers. And that's the biggest benefit.
Retire Japan, the Akiya edition. Yeah.
Yes.
I almost bought an Akiya. So I was looking on Akiya banks and I found something about 20 minutes drive away from us, just on the outskirts, just outside Sendai. Beautiful area, like unbelievably stunning. And it had a lot of land and it was a really old house, but it was ¥1,000,000 yen. So I was like, so we could buy that, go there on the weekend. My wife could, grow vegetables and stuff because she's into growing stuff. And it would be a good place to write and hang out. And I called them up and they sold it half an hour before I called them. So tip to the post. But yeah, I think that kind of Akiya, if it fits into your life and it works, possibly. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'd move for an Akiya. Like if I found something in Sendai, yeah, someone else is going to have bought it, I think, beforehand. So
one thing that keeps tempting me is just a bit of land, just to have as a little mini nature reserve kind of thing, just to go along and have a picnic every now and then or something. But but then I think about it more practically, and well, you can't just leave a piece of land. It does need some kind of upkeep. Trimming down the weeds or whatever, or checking it's not been dumped with litter or something. And then of course you've got some kind of property tax, I imagine, as well. So yeah, overall
liability. What happens if a forest fire starts on your land?
What about that? Yeah.
Someone trespasses and a tree falls on them. Is that your fault? Like, yeah. It's kind of like having a second home. I think we talked about this in a previous episode.
Yes. So,
sounds great, but it's probably cheaper just to stay in nice hotels when you want to. Yeah. All right, quick question, then we'll go on to the news, I think. So, how worried should someone be about? I think the immigration office is going to look at your tax paperwork. And they're going to look at your pension contributions and health insurance contributions and all that. So if all that's up to date, you're probably okay. If the tax office hasn't noticed something, then the immigration office isn't going to find it, I don't think. So I don't recommend, evading taxes or anything, but I think for that specific question, yes, I have been busted by the tax office.
Busted, not just
audited. Yeah. So a long time ago, I did some part-time work. I did like some talks and stuff, and I got paid. And there's a 200,000 yen thing where if you make 200,000 yen, up to 200,000 yen worth of side income, you don't have to do a tax return if you don't do one already.
Oh.
If you do a tax return, you have to declare that money. But if you do your taxes through your company, they kind of have this 200,000 yen thing where they're like, we can't be bothered to do the paperwork. Basically, we don't want you to file a tax return for that amount of money. So just keep it. But apparently you're supposed to file a local one. Oh, didn't know that. So it wasn't the tax agent, it was Sendai. Sendai was like, hey, come in and file your taxes. So I went in, I was like, oh my God, I'm sorry, I didn't know. And they were like, oh, it's fine, we'll just get you all squared away. And I was like, okay, so I'll just pay the tax now. And they're like, no, wait. Let's figure out some expenses that you had to reduce your tax bill. And I was like, what?
No way.
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
So this guy, he was like, okay, sit down. So what expenses did you have? And I was like, well, I kind of took the train to go to my speaking engagement. And he's like, okay, good, train. And he was like, what else? I was like, I don't know. He's like, you must have had printer ink. I was like, okay, I had printer ink. He's like, yes,
really? Wow.
And yeah, he had a kind of a target that he wanted to reduce it by. And he kind of made up expenses until he got there. And he was like, okay, here's your tax bill. It's about half what you thought it was. Have a nice day. I was like, this would not happen in the UK.
No. So I think we should just iterate that we are not encouraging people to not report taxes. Please report everything you're supposed to.
Yeah. But the tax office in Japan, in my experience, is fairly nice.
Same thing down here. I went in with a question and I was really nervous, you know, and they're going to ask me all these other questions and whilst you're here, blah, blah, blah. But no, they just were very happy to help and explain things simply.
Awesome. All right. News. So the elephant in the room.
Yes.
So I was a bit surprised at the results of the American election.
Me too.
It really felt like Brexit, you know, where you just like, I
Yes.
don't understand what's going on. You know, this doesn't, yeah. But so I've seen some articles already that said that based on some of the policies that have been proposed, it seems like Japan is not going to do very well economically out of this. So they might have tariffs on Japanese goods. They'll have much higher tariffs on Japanese goods that are made in China, for example. If they're produced in China, they'll have that 50% proposed tariff. And also America's likely to have higher inflation and therefore higher interest rates. And so the dollar is likely to get stronger. So, yeah.
Yeah, it did jump up. When it looked like he could win, I think it jumped up a few days ahead. Then it sort of stayed leveled off. This is something I'm sure you've seen the same. I find time and time again, you think this thing is going to happen, and therefore, wow, that's going to make the stock market or the exchange rate change. And when it actually happens, it doesn't move because it's happened a few days in advance because everybody's expected it. So when it actually does happen, it's like, yeah, that's what we expected, no change. And so
yeah, it's only
I think we saw that this time.
Things that move the market, isn't it?
Yeah. When he started pulling ahead, that's when it made a change. So I think, yeah, it's kind of leveled off now. But I agree, long term, yeah, inflation is going to come back, I think. And I don't think the president doesn't really have control over the Federal Reserve, I think. So
no,
that
not at the
be
moment.
kind of like a bit of a difficulty getting the balance there.
Yep. So I wouldn't be surprised if we had a stronger dollar in the future, maybe a weaker yen, and not great. So for those of us who have investments in dollars, it might be nice or a wash. But if you don't, it might be quite rough in Japan, I think.
But
fingers crossed. Hopefully it won't. You don't know.
We're speculating here. We're not experts. Well, we don't.
But there are some links in the Monday reads to those articles if you want to check them out.
The Monday read. I've got a link for that. The Monday read, by the way, is the blog post that Ben puts out every Monday for how many years is it now?
It's been a while, eh? I think it's like 5 years maybe without a break. We're coming up to blog post number 1000, I think. So
wow.
I think within this year we'll get to the 1000th blog post.
Yeah. And still, I think 100% handwritten, not AI written.
Oh, I can't stand AI. I've tried to use it for stuff. And yeah, I just haven't found it useful. So all this stuff about it's going to replace jobs, and I just don't find it at all useful. I want AI to do things like I don't know, like I don't want it to summarize emails, for example. Do you know what I mean? That seems to be the use case now. They're like, yeah, do you want to use AI to summarize this email? I'm like, no, I just read it. Maybe an email chain, but yeah, it's not. No, so nothing on Retire Japan is AI generated.
On the flip side, I use it every day. I rely on AI a lot for my work and for personal life. One way I find it useful related to personal finance is just explaining things. So what are the influences on inflation? Like the bond on the news, they're saying the bond yield curve, blah, blah, is doing this. What does that mean for my interest rate or, for inflation or whatever? And it's pretty good at sort of logical explanations like that. And you can say to it, I still don't understand. Explain to me like I'm a 5-year-old, and it will do that.
Actually, I lie. There is one thing. So, they brought out that new Chat GPT that's conversational.
Yes, the one
you can, on the phone, you can converse. You just talk to it. I started asking it about jiu-jitsu, and it knows about jiu-jitsu. So.
Really, and it's pretty good, is it?
It's okay. I mean, it's not wrong. So it's a nice review. Sometimes you can be like, okay, so what would you do from this situation? And it can remind you of stuff. It's not groundbreaking. It wouldn't replace a coach, I don't think. But
okay.
So maybe AI will win me over by talking to me about jiu-jitsu.
So what other news do we have then? Oh, I put a couple of things here. This is actually back from August, but we've kind of talked a little bit about this in the past, where Japanese government is always wondering about what to do about the population, and in particular the population in Japan moving from the countryside to the big cities. So what they did on August the 29th, they announced they were planning a cash incentive for women to marry and leave Tokyo. So if you leave Tokyo and get married, you'll get an extra bonus of something, a cash payout. And there were complaints about that. And 2 days later, they said, we've dropped that plan. We're not going to encourage women to go back to the countryside. It's just, I feel like they're throwing darts at a dartboard at the moment.
Well, I mean, I think the UK birth rate just went under Japan's.
Really?
UK's freaking out about the birth rate now, yeah. And North Korea is half of Japan at the moment, right? And North Korea's thrown billions. Like they've had a huge budget to try and address it. Makes no difference whatsoever. So
yeah,
I don't think it's a government thing. It's certainly not let's tweak a policy here and there and change this. So
yeah.
I'm quite pessimistic on the birth rate.
And it's not like let's blame all the women either. I think maybe they're learning that it's not a one particular group's problem. Well, what else did we have? A little bit later than that, back in September, they lowered the age that officially you are an adult. And I think it was it 20, and they reduced it to 18 now.
Yeah.
And that meant there was a rise in young people struggling with debt.
Oh, right, because they can sign contracts now.
Right. Yes. Now, yes, it's partly because that now includes more people, includes 18s and 19-year-olds. But yeah, now it's much easier to get credit cards, to get consumer loans without parental consent. And so if you can find a company to give it to you and you're not sort of really confident with your finances, then you can get into trouble. The National Consumer Affairs Center of Japan was saying that the number of consultations has gone up for people with multiple debts, for people not just in their 20s but in their teens as well.
Oh God, yeah.
Sad side effect. And that's why you do what you do, I think, isn't it? Try and help people with their personal finances, regardless of age.
Everyone's welcome. Yeah, I think my oldest client was 79, and the youngest has been university age. So
really?
Big range of people. I had that plan to make a kids channel, YouTube channel for kids about personal finance with my granddaughter, but she decided she wants to play tennis instead. So I tried bribing her. I said, "Look, you can have half the profits from the channel," and she was like, "No."
Really?
I was trying to teach her entrepreneurial skills, but didn't work.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Oh, speaking of university students, so our son is just coming up to end of university. Fortunately, he's got his first job now lined up. We talked about iDeCo earlier. Is he too early to think about iDeCo, or do you recommend no? As soon as you get into the working environment, you should start planning it.
Well, the thing about iDeCo is the minimum's 5,000 yen for everyone, regardless of the maximum, right? The maximum is going to be 20, 23, 68, whatever. But the minimum is 5. And remember, your tax-free portion is based on how long you've been paying in. So I think it's definitely worth getting the account, paying in the minimum, just to maximize that tax-free benefit. But also to have the account, to be familiar with how it works, to understand investing, to get it, basically. And the benefit of iDeCo over NISA is that they can't take it out.
Right. Yeah.
So, if you're the parent or family member who's trying to push young people in the right direction, I think iDeCo is fantastic because anything that goes in there is going to compound for 40 years, regardless of whether they want to spend it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great idea, I think.
Okay, good.
And it doesn't have to be the maximum. It could be the minimum. The minimum is great. And actually, for my granddaughter, I'm planning to give her the money for iDeCo with the condition that she puts it in iDeCo.
Yeah.
Because then it's a win-win, right? So.
Yeah.
Actually, this question is perfect, isn't it?
Yeah. Well done, MS. You predicted our next item, which is.
Have you hacked our notes?
I put this on there. I'm not sure it's news. I don't think it's something that is new, but it's something that I noticed when we had the typhoon warnings and stuff. And it is the disaster prevention information site created by the Tokyo government. I'll put the link in the channel there. Which is pretty useful. As from what I can see, no, it does have an English section actually. Yeah, so it's in English as well as Japanese. If you go up to the top and then select English, however, it's just a machine translation, so it might not be totally natural. But anyway, it's useful, and it's pretty good. Don't have much to say about it other than take a look if you're interested in just what the official advice is for being ready for disasters. I remember now why this came on my radar is because of the Nankai Trough. So there was the earthquake, wasn't there, down off Miyazaki, and then suddenly it was there's going to be a big one there's a potential of having a big one within a week or so.
We were freaking out, weren't we?
Yeah. So I was looking at the information about that. But that warning has since been lifted, by the way. So it's not the panic that it once was.
But there's still, we could have an earthquake anytime. So it's definitely worth being ready. Personally, from the 311 earthquake up here in Tohoku, I recommend having some cash at home in small denominations, like 1,000 yens and coins, because if you try and buy stuff, that nothing electronic's going to work. I recommend having your documents, passports and stuff somewhere that you can grab, because we actually left Sendai, went to Kansai, planned to fly to Thailand if we needed to escape Japan. But one of my daughters lost her passport, so we had to get her a new passport before we could implement that plan. So that wouldn't have been great if it was in a real emergency. So just having all that stuff ready to go, and then obviously water and food for at least a few days. So the other thing is immediately after the earthquake, if you fill the bath, that's really handy because you can use that water to flush toilets and stuff.
Yeah.
Those are my kind of big ones. Oh, and never let your car get under half in terms of fuel if you have a car, because you'll need that to leave if you need to. And if there's no fuel in it, you can't use gas stations, basically. So. I guess if you had an EV, you might, and you had solar panels, you could charge it yourself, maybe. But yeah, the benefits of EVs, yay.
Yeah, we did talk more about this actually. Cheap or free ways to just prepare as much as you can for disasters, and that was in the last episode, I think, that we did.
Was it?
Was it July,
Season 2, episode
or maybe
10?
Maybe 10 or 9, I think.
Okay.
So yeah, take a look at that. So that's related to the question, isn't it? We got a question from MS. Yeah, any personal tips on maintaining a disaster go bag? I'm going to mention this briefly later on, actually, when I talk about Furusato Noze. But yes, we use that to get. So initially, I thought, I don't want to spend all that money. There's probably charging extra for basic things, and sure enough, you can go and get individual things that you think you might need. But in the end, we just went for a big white rucksack thing with everything that, well, not everything, but a bunch of stuff that we're likely to need, and stick it in the cupboard. And that was wonderful. It didn't take long to do. Don't need to think about it. It's there if we need it. And it might not be perfect, but it's better than nothing. And it's better than just sitting around and thinking about it, trying to make it perfect, rather than getting something that's almost perfect and doesn't take long.
Something else actually I just remembered is keeping stuff in the car. So in the winter, like keeping blankets and stuff. Because it's not just earthquake. You could get stuck on the highway in snow and be there for 2-3 days and stuff like that. So
that's good thinking.
Yeah, but I'm not a disaster expert, and I'm probably not very well prepared either.
Right.
Okay, let's do some questions just for a sec. So yeah, Kelly, if the Arcs game is amazing, so if you have anyone to play with and you're into board games, definitely recommend it. And yeah, I do. I have one bank account in the UK.
Sorry, we should repeat the question for people on the audio only.
Oh right, yeah. So do we have bank accounts in the UK? I have one normal bank account that I've had since I was 12, and I have a Wise account. So Wise allows you to open these kind of virtual accounts in different countries that have kind of bank sort codes and things. So they function like a bank account. People can send money to it. You can send money to them. So I've got one of those for the UK as well as a backup.
Same here.
Perfect.
Shall we go back to the news then?
Yeah, let's finish the news.
Okay, so a couple other things. Oh, right. So not about news, but I wanted to bring this up because you mentioned, and I can't remember if it was in one of the podcasts or one of your videos, but when you talk about things that you invest in, you tend to focus on the all world IMAX's Slim. I can't remember the full name of it. Something.
Yeah. IMAX's Slim All Country Fund. Yes.
Thank you. That's the one. I think I might have mentioned that I've got emerging market bonds, and your face was like, wow, why would you have that? And yeah, on its own, I don't think it's a good idea, but I've had it for several years now. And the reason why is that I initially looked at what I tend to have most of, which is generally Japanese stocks. And so I want something that is just not correlated with that. So when one goes up, the other one doesn't go up. And when one crashes down, the other one hopefully doesn't crash down. And I went through a bunch of ETFs available that I could have within a NISA. And I also want yield as well. I really like having that regular income. And so, yeah, that ticked the boxes. It was a relatively cheap ETF, cheap as in it's got low management fees. It's got a high yield of about 4%, I think. And it's pretty uncorrelated with Japanese stocks. So that's why I hold emerging market bonds. Over the years, it's pretty much not gone anywhere, up or down. It's pretty stable, but it's given me that 4% yield, and it's like stable there, sort of balancing out the more volatile stocks. So that's why.
Fair enough.
And it may not be for everybody. It's just for my personal situation. I'm happy with it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. So there's some free books.
Yes,
I recommended one of Meb Faber's books that I own, and someone pointed out that it's actually free on his website as a PDF. So I was like, okay.
Yes. So let me put that here.
Should we stick that in the chat as well? We'll stick it in the show notes too. So if you're watching this later on YouTube or something, you'll be able to find the links in the description.
Yep. Free books. So it's not all books in the world. It's just these select, I think 4 of them by Meb.
They're good.
I've actually heard of him.
He's famous, yeah. So
right, okay.
And they're decent books. So they're mainly about portfolio allocation, I think. So how to structure your portfolio, put together different portfolios of stocks and bonds and different things, different asset classes, including developing country bonds, if you so choose.
Not for everyone. You do need to give your email address, I think. So if you're comfortable to do that, then worth taking a look. The final bit of news I have is something I was just looking at with regards to NISA. So the government revamped NISA at the start of this year, 2024, made it a lot better. And the purpose of that, I think, is to encourage more people to invest within a NISA to sort of prepare for their their retirement. And so, okay, how's that working out? Well, it turns out the government puts out a report every 3 months, or in fact, exactly every 3 months, about how many people use NISA. When I say use, I think you corrected me, Ben. It's actually how many people have opened a NISA. Maybe or probably they haven't all actually put money in it. So loosely, how many people use NISA? I've got a link to that Japanese page. You can go and click on one of those links, and it will not tell you straight away. It will let you download an Excel file, which is the ugliest thing you've seen, with a load of black and white numbers on it, and you have to work out which is the number that you want. But basically, it turns out that around 20% of people in Japan have an NISA account. That's taking the numbers that they've got in that spreadsheet divided by the entire population. So it actually includes babies as well. So in reality, probably like if it's working age people, it's going to be much higher. But yeah, 20% of the population of Japan apparently has a NISA account, which is up from around 16% from a year before. So it does seem like the new revamped NISA
is not surprising either, because the amount of airtime NISA's had on the news, on TV, on online has been fantastic. So yeah, I think it's great. With the proviso that I'm not sure how many of those accounts are actually active. So I've met dozens of people who have a NISA account, but they've never actually gotten around to using it. So they've applied for it, it's been opened, but they haven't bought anything. And I think that might be fairly common. So, but yeah, baby steps. Having the accounts a great first step, and then actually using it is the next step.
Yeah. And it's good they make these statistics available as well. So it kind of I find it encouraging that if you are sort of on the fence, like, well, it sounds risky, 20% of the population are doing it. The government is encouraging it. It's not day trading or forex trading. It is something that a lot of people feel comfortable with.
Yeah. Cool. Let's curate the questions super quick, and then we'll go on to our new segment, our super exciting new segment. First of all, a football question. I left the UK because I don't like football, so I have no idea. You a football person?
A little bit, but I am doing Fantasy Premier League. My nephew started doing it, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll do that. I love numbers and spreadsheets and stuff. And yeah, I really like it. So now, I'm making my spreadsheet and I'm getting to know the players and stuff. Will Newcastle United ever win? I've no idea. I saw them once when Alan Shearer was a player way back when. And yeah, they were really strong at that point. But yeah, their time will come. In our lifetime, who knows?
Awesome. I think we talked about this in one of the season 2 episodes, didn't we?
Yeah.
So we have talked about this before. Yeah, I'm not super. I think Japan's going to gradually decline. Actually, it's going to be pleasant and remain fairly pleasant, and just get a little bit less effective. Maybe I think things will stop working slowly, but we'll see. I don't know how fast that's going to happen.
Right, we've actually started noticing. So the question was, by the way, about demographics. How do we feel about demographics? The shifts that are happening in Japan, and Japan, for example, 30 years in the future, economically or socially. We've started to notice changes already where we live. The number of buses has gone down, and it's not just one or two. We've seen it on several routes where the buses have gone from once every half an hour, for example, down to 1 an hour, and it's because of a lack of bus drivers. Apparently, I thought, oh, they're trying to save money. No, they can't get the drivers because of the
we've had restaurants close because they couldn't get staff. Popular restaurants.
Really?
So it's all that kind of stuff. The thing that worries me is infrastructure. Because infrastructure maintenance and stuff is not really AI-able yet.
Yeah, true.
It's people physically making things and fixing things, and I don't know if they're gonna be able to maintain all the bridges and tunnels and things. So that's a concern, I think.
Yeah. Oh, and Jason in the comments says it's happening in Sapporo as well. So we're not, it's not just one data point.
This was interesting. So, life is good at the moment. I mean, the American election, I don't live in the US, so it doesn't really affect me too much. I mean, I'm slightly worried about the environment. I don't think this is a good thing for, efforts to transition to clean energy and stuff. I'm a bit worried about Taiwan. But other than that, yeah, it's just kind of baffling, really. I don't really understand what happened there.
Yeah. So this is Kelly asking about, do we enjoy life or do we stress about our finances? I have to say, with regard to finances, again, the iDeCo, setting that up just relieves so much stress, because you got your job and you can sort of, get through, month by month. But it's the future that you think, well, I personally think, I'll worry about that in the future, And then as you get older, you think, have I really got my future sorted out? And thanks to having that iDeCo sort of running in the background that I've forgotten about, because it's just basically on autopilot, I sort of look at that occasionally and think, oh, that's a nice boost to the pension. Okay, probably going to be okay. So definitely it's much more stress-free having some automated putting money away in iDeCo or NISA every month. Plus, our son is close to finishing university as well, so that does make a difference.
That makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but anyone can do iDeCo. I think pretty much anyone could do NISA, and it's so worth it to start,
Yes.
even if it's small amounts of money. Like, you don't need you can start NISA with 100 yen. Anyone can open an account.
And I think we've talked about this before as well, but it's not necessarily the financial benefit that you get, but it's that psychological thing, knowing that, okay, I'm doing something. And then you hear about these people who get to retirement age and they've got nothing except their national pension, which is not enough. And you can just reassure yourself, okay, at least I'm not in that. I'm not going to be in that situation. And it's well worth it.
Yeah. So tell people about Retire Japan.
Yes.
We're just preaching to the converted, right? Everyone here has NISA accounts, but tell everyone else about it.
Right. Are we ready for our new section?
Dun, dun, dun.
Are you ready? Hold on. Right.
You're just showing off now, aren't you? Your little soundboard. Nice. So our new section is the frivolous purchase confessional. We're not perfect. I'm not even particularly good at personal finance. So this is where we share our stupid purchases and things that completely clash with any image we might have had as sensible financial people.
Do you want to go first?
Okay. So I recently, for some reason, YouTube has started giving me watch videos. And I don't know. I've never been interested in watches or fashion or anything, but recently I've started watching watch videos and I bought a watch. But I didn't go all out. It's not some monstrosity that costs $18,000 or something. It's a Casio. This is basically my dress watch from now on. I think it's because I went to a wedding. So I went to a wedding, and normally I've got this ratty little Xiaomi smartwatch that costs about 3,000 yen, which is fine for my needs. But I thought, it'd be nice to have something to go with my suit. So I have a dress watch now. I think it cost about 19,000 yen. So it's a bit bling for me. It's a Casio Edifice. It's probably got a number that I don't know, but it's really nice. It's kind of got like brushed stainless steel and sapphire glass and all this stuff. So I'm just hoping this isn't like, the entry drug to whatever, the gateway drug to, bidding on Rolex Oyster thingies online.
Oh.
You know a bit about this, don't you, Daniel?
Yeah, bought a few watches in my time. But,
so that's my frivolous purchase. I don't need it. It's silly, but kind of. It was affordable, and I kind of wanted it. So that was my frivolous purchase for this month.
Oh, that sounds not too bad to me. I was trying to wrap my brain. I've been quite good recently, but there was one thing. I bought a we have one electric bike, which is really good, by the way,
Ooh.
electric assist bike. I mean, the sort of Yamaha ones. Nothing fancy. It's just a little City X. It's got a basket, which means it's good. And we sort of share it, whenever one of us wants to go to the shops. But it'd be really nice for the two of us to go out cycling together. So I bought pretty much exactly the same model on Mercari, somewhere in Kanagawa. They don't tell you exactly where, but somewhere in Kanagawa, somebody was selling one for it was 60,000, I think it was. And they said, if you're willing to pick it up in person, I can make it a bit cheaper. Kanagawa Prefecture, let's take the risk here. It could be pretty close. It might be far away, but let's risk it. I'm happy to cycle from, far away, whatever. And so I said, okay, I'll buy it. And then she said, okay, look, she'll make it 50,000 because I said I would pick it up in person. Bought it. Turns out 10 minutes cycle up the road in the same town. Yeah.
What?
Amazing coincidence.
I thought you were going to say it was like, 3 days travel away or something.
I was ready for it. I got pictures of myself on the the rucksack. No, that was a good purchase. But then, it's very nice. Really been well looked after. But it needs new tires. So, I should probably get chunky tires for extra grip. So I got really nice chunky tires. And then the seat was the standard Yamaha seat. But it'd be really nice to have like a comfortable ride. So I got a new seat with little springy bits on. So it's got kind of springiness, the suspension basically. And then if we go on long rides together, I want to use my phone, as a sort of navigation. We go to these wild places, so probably need a phone holder for none of us. So I bought a phone holder, and it's Rock Bros. This brand, loads of really good stuff, and it's really, really a good phone holder. Aluminium, steady as anything. And then, so we went out, and then my wife is faster than me going up the hill. So clearly there's something wrong with the bike I've just bought, and the pedals don't really spin super freely. And look on YouTube, and some people have got these new pedals and they spin really, really well. One flick and they spin round and round. That's it. It's the friction in the pedals. So I bought new pedals as well.
Have you spent more than the bike yet?
Not quite, but I don't think I needed all that stuff. I could have just enjoyed it with some.
I forgive you for your cycle purchases. I think
It looks really.
You're investing in your relationship with your wife, and
yes. I'm hoping it's going to be worth it. Yeah.
Approved.
Oh, likewise. So, our confessional's over.
Now it's Daniel's money tip.
Right. Oh,
my favorite bit of the whole thing.
Okay. Hey. All right, Daniel's money tip. I got a little quick bonus one to get out of the way first. And we're heading up. So talk about our son. He's actually at a university in Hawaii. He's graduating soon. So we booked a trip to Hawaii to go and see him graduate. Hotels are crazy expensive there. And there's one in Waikiki, the Prince Hotel. It's overlooking the sea. So, okay, it's the last time he's going to be there. Well, we assume. So let's splash out, and we're going to go into get a room at the Prince Hotel in Waikiki. And I almost book it. And then it says, as part of the rate, this isn't like the basic rate, but it says this does not qualify for Seibu Prince points. I was like, Seibu Prince points. I've got Seibu, the free account, thing for Seibu in Japan. I didn't think it was related, but it is. And so Seibu Prince Japan website, and sure enough, the Waikiki Hotel is listed there. I'd get the same quote for the same dates, cheaper on the Japan site, because they've got some, members only 35% off, something like that. So in the end, their base rate is higher, but in the end, it works out at just over 7% cheaper than booking it through the Hawaii hotel directly. So if you're a Seibu Prince person, and they have other Prince hotels around the world, but if you are staying in a Prince hotel outside Japan, it's worth checking the Japan site because you might get a better deal. And
sneaky, I like it.
Until February, they've got a triple points campaign, so you'll get 3 times the points, which will then work out to about 10% ish off what I would have paid. So it's probably
Awesome.
quite a narrow audience there, but that's a money tip. If you,
I think I've stayed at a Prince Hotel though, so yeah, I mean,
right,
they're
yeah,
certainly around,
good.
aren't they?
Yeah. So the other money tip that is probably more relevant for most people is not really anything like sort of relatively unknown. Everyone knows about it, I think, but it's Furusato Noze. I've got a little sort of brochure thing here, which is sort of hometown tax in English. You may have heard about it, but I think a lot of people assume that that's just for people who earn a very high income or people who are only self-employed or something, but it's neither of those. And the reason I'm mentioning it is because the deadline for this year is coming up at the end of December. So although the financial year finishes the end of March, the Furusato Noze kind of cuts off at the end of December, I guess, to give them time to do all their paperwork and stuff. So what does that mean for you? Well, whatever your salary is, you can find out on the official government site what your sort of limit is. Just put that in the comments there. And it starts off from if you have a salary of about 3 million yen. So if your salary is 3 million yen or above, then you can benefit from Furusato Noze system. Check that table for your own situation and what your limit is. But let's say we'll deal with the actual the minimum, shall we? 3 million yen, and it depends on your status, married, children, all that kind of thing. So we'll say that you are single, to keep it easy. Therefore, according to this table towards the bottom of the page that I linked to, your limit is 28,000 yen, which means you can donate up to 28,000 yen to a town or a village somewhere else in Japan, not the place where you live. And because you're being very kind and you're donating to this town, then they will give you a little gift up to 30% of the value of your donation. Sometimes a little bit less, but anyway, it's a gift like a bag of rice or something that you choose.
Minus 2,000 yen.
Yes, the very first time it's minus
2,000
yen. Yes. The reason why that's good is not just because you get the free gift, but then that 28,000 yen is then taken off the tax that you would have paid after the end of March next year. So effectively, you're paying a bit of tax early, and the benefit is you're getting a free gift of your choice or whatever they have listed, but also that then becomes a deduction in your taxable income. So your taxable income that they use to work out how much tax you need to pay is reduced by that 28,000 yen. So it might not be enough to drop you down a band, but any reduction in taxable income doesn't hurt. So that's it. I would recommend you looking at this table and sort of finding out what your limit is. Then go to one of the many Furusato Noze sites. There's Satofuru, there's Furunavi. Some of the airlines, I know JAL has its own Furusato site, and then you can get miles, JAL miles, if you use that. Go to one of those, look at the limit that you found in the table, and then see what kind of gifts you might get.
Basically, it's free stuff. So it's free stuff for doing some paperwork.
Yeah.
But be really careful not to go over. Basically, this is capped by how much tax you actually pay, because you can't get a refund for tax you didn't pay. So if you donate more than that, you're just wasting your money because the gifts are only worth a third of what you're paying. So
yeah,
just be conservative with the amounts you donate, I would say.
Yeah,
and also if you donate to charity, this uses the same allowance. So Furusato Noze plus charity equals this limit. So if you're doing both, just be careful again with the amounts.
Oh, that's good to
know.
know.
Yeah, it's free stuff basically. So
yeah,
probably worth it.
Yep. What I was going to say. Oh yeah. So if you've no idea what to do with it, I was going to actually just quickly go through this the rankings. It's got sort of suggested rankings for different categories in this. I've used it myself actually. In fact, we mentioned it briefly earlier. The emergency pack that we've got, one year that was it, donated to, I can't remember what town it was, and one of the gifts was sort of a rucksack of emergency disaster sort of goods. Perfect. We need one anyway, and you end up not actually paying more than you have to. So the rankings of these gifts that you get in return for your donation. The ranking here is the category first one is meat, and this is just examples for you, but they've got Saga beef kiriotoshi, Shimane Wagyu sirloin steak, blah blah blah. So you can get those frozen or not, I don't know.
How much are they?
Oh yeah, good question. Right, the Saga one, that is a donation of 19,000. So that's, yeah, you don't need to be earning much to be within the limit to give 19,000 to Saga to get Saga beef. Sirloin steak was 17,000. They've got processed meat here. The top one is hamburger. That's 15,000 yen donation. Gyoza. Then there's udon. Looks good. Scallops here in the seafood section. Loads of fruit and veg. We've done this actually. We've got some fruit a couple of times. You can't really predict when it's going to come, and they're obviously going to send it as soon as they harvest it. So if you happen to be out of the country or something at that time, you've got to be aware that the fruit is not going to arrive then. But yeah, you've got asparagus. There's a mixed vegetable basket here with a donation of only 4,000 yen. What's that, in Kochi Prefecture? The asparagus is 6,000. You've got strawberries there. They look nice, 6,000. And then towards the back, we've got a couple of other more practical things, which is practical drinks.
Rice and beer tend to be the most popular categories, don't they?
Yes. Obviously, you've got your standard Asahi and stuff, but also we've done this before, Yona Ale, which tends to be a little bit more expensive in the supermarkets. But if you get it through Furusato Nose, then it's a donation that's taken off your tax from next year. So effectively, it's kind of free beer. Who doesn't want that? And then the last section is daily goods. They've got a toaster here for a donation of 53,000 yen, Hyogo Prefecture. They give you a toaster. A shower head, or if you really can't decide, then you can just get a box of tissues or toilet paper and stick it in the cupboard. So there you go. Top tip. It does apply to salaried individual, like it's salary, you're going for a regular company. You don't have to be self-employed. If you are self-employed, then you will have to get the paperwork, or get the receipt rather, from whichever town you donate to, and make sure you include that when you file your taxes at the end of the year. If you don't do that, you just get your company to do all that for you. Then when you get something through this system from the website, make sure you check the, what's it called?
One-stop system.
One-stop, that's it, yeah. One-stop Tokurei Seido is the name of it. And basically what that will do is the Furusato website that you're using, I think, automatically then sends whatever relevant paperwork is necessary to the city hall or whatever.
They file your taxes,
tax
yeah,
office,
basically.
yeah. And that then goes to your company somehow. So basically, you don't need to do anything as long as you check that one-stop thing. But if you're doing the taxes yourself, do not press that. You need to actually get the receipt. Whew.
And the deadline is kind of the end of the year. So
end of the year. So the reason I'm mentioning now, because it tends to be a rough rush at the end of the year, and things get sold out. Sold. They're not really for sale. They're donations, but the free gifts run out because of the limited supply.
Gifted out.
So, gifted out. Yeah. So do it now rather than later. There you go. That's my money saving tip.
Hey, excellent. All right, and then our final section, and then we'll get to the Q&A for any remaining questions. So just some things from the forum. A few, not as many as usual, but there was a good thread on interest rates on home loans. So it's the perennial question: should I get a fixed loan? Should I get a floating rate loan? Which is better? What kind of rates are there at the moment? It's all in that thread. There was a really interesting one about someone who was given the option to have part of their salary paid in dollars, and they were trying to figure out if that was a good idea. So they're based in Japan. Most of their salary paid in yen. They had a choice of getting some of it in dollars, and there's some really good advice there from people who'd been in that situation. So if that sounds familiar, it might be a good thread to check out. There was something about how to file your iDeCo, very timely given our topics today, on your tax form. So if you do your own taxes, how to file iDeCo. If your company does your taxes, then you get a statement from your iDeCo provider and you just give that to them. So it's very simple. If you're filing it yourself, you just fill it in the retirement bonus kind of section. And then something about retirement planning. So thinking about retirement, how much it's going to cost, that kind of stuff. And that's our forum roundup for this time round.
Very good. Very good. Keith made a good point earlier. It seems Amazon will start doing Furusato Nose from next year. Yes, I heard that as well. I also heard some people quite unhappy about. I think there was a lot of pushback from that because the thinking was Furusato Nose, it's for supporting your hometown within Japan. It should be Japanese companies that are able to like develop the systems for that, rather than big American companies.
Yeah, because Amazon's going to take over half the market instantly on this.
Yeah, but they got approval, so yeah.
Which is why they cracked down on points, I think. That's part of it. They changed the rules recently, so it's the companies aren't allowed to advertise points promotions or give lots of points for this. So I think it's because of Amazon, basically.
Right.
Okay. Did we have anything else?
Kelly. Conclusion.
Is that a black eye? I tell people it was my wife, but it was jiu-jitsu, actually. Yeah. Someone accidentally kicked me in the head. So yeah.
Hopefully lasting effects.
UK pension class 2 advice. I generally recommend paying into the UK state pension on a voluntary basis if you're allowed to. It's an amazing investment. You basically get your money back in about 6 months. It's fantastic. So yeah, if you're allowed to, if you can, I definitely recommend paying in and back paying as much as you can, just in case they change the rules in the future and you can't pay in anymore. Yeah, anyone from the UK who's got a UK national insurance number, who's worked in the UK, can probably do this. So definitely worth checking out. And of course, the kind of amnesty for back payments ends in 2025, I think the end of March. So do it before then.
You did a very good video on that, which I've just posted. Really makes it clear.
Oh, thank you. Cool. And I think that's everything, isn't it?
Yeah, just the next episode. When are we going to meet again?
Aha. So next episode is December 16th.
Another Monday.
It's always a Monday. And you're very kindly joining us, even though you probably should be going to bed early. So thank you for that. And yeah, so I hope to see everyone there. Thanks for joining us today. It's been great having all the comments and questions. It really makes it more interesting for us to do. And yeah, see you in December.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. See you next time.